And so then I said, so I'm here, this is our friend, the lawyer in Stockholm, please arrest me and put me to jail until these papers get cleared. And then this policeman said, Yaha, he said, this is a fire department. The police is across the street. I was so pissed. So I go over there and I go in and said, I am illegally here, arrest me, and that's all I said. So then they cleared in 48 hours, and a policeman came with me to Stockholm. And I had a far relative, Countess Zita Dobronyi. She married a Swedish nobleman. They had a beautiful castle, and then he guaranteed for me. And then I got out of that camp and went to this castle where I stayed the whole winter, the next spring. Million funny things happened, of course, we're not knowing the language and on and on. So Tassilo Dobronyi, she was my above-ranking pilot, test pilot, one of the best pilots in Hungary we had. And I knew him from Hungary. He's the one who suggested to get me the papers. And anyway, to guarantee that I'm there. And we decided we're not going to stay in, it was terribly cold for us. It's a dry cold in Sweden. It was a 40,000 acre estate. We went elk hunting, and they had Anna, she was pregnant, they had a baby, and they had a girl coming from England as a nanny. And then we learned from her English, and every month we had a big problem, who made her pregnant? The Tassilo or me? And luckily every time nothing happened. It was false alarm. Then from there we went to, Anna had an apartment, Déri Döri Sándor, a very well-known Hungarian painter. And he had a nice apartment in Stockholm. So we went up there, and somebody said I said, what can you do? And I said, I can be a jeweler. So they got me a job right away. And I was in Stockholm about 6 months. Big success with the woman, Swedish woman. And then I finally decided to, with Tassilo, we spin the globe, a big old globe, where are we going? And he spin it around and closed my eyes and put my finger there, and it was Cuba. Then we did with him, and he by absolute coincidence, he stopped between Key West and Cuba, his finger. So we decided we go to Cuba. Now what we know about Cuba? Said, well, I know my grandfather used to smoke Havana cigars and drink Cuban rum. So we go there. So Tassilo, very smart, he sent me first. And he stayed in comfort in Sweden. And finally, after 6 months, he joined me. And I started to make jewelry, which I learned a trade in Hungary, but was ancient Hungarian jewelry. Is a very special art, and that was teaching it in a school for study art, and I took the jewelry part. So I got immediately a job in Stockholm.
How old were you when you were in Stockholm and then went to Cuba?
Well, then we said that the deal was still on, so we're going to Cuba.
And how old were you then?
25, something like that. 25, 26 maybe. So anyway, so I supposed to go on first. Now I took a boat ride to London, Oh, we had to go to Sweden first because they had a laissez-passer, which means a provisionally travel document. It was not a citizenship, it was just a formality. It was good anywhere in the world if you had a visa from there. Then I met in Stockholm a Cuban girl, and we kept in friendship, and she organized me later on the Cuban papers. But anyway, so I get from London, I stayed a couple of days also with friends, and I took the British Airway, and British Airway was going to Bermuda, Nassau, Havana, and Venezuela. But that plane broke down every time. First, from London, it landed Azores. Then Azores, we were going to Bermuda. It was such a storm, it blew us up to Newfoundland. And then we stayed over there the second night. The third night, they were flying down to Nassau, the plane broke down again. We stayed there again. And we take off again for Venezuela and Havana. And for some reason, somebody talked me into to go Venezuela is a new country. I said, okay. But when we landed there, I never seen palm trees and beautiful ocean and gorgeous place. So I went to the men's John, and they were calling and calling all the passengers that didn't come out until the plane took off. Then I asked somebody to call my Cuban girlfriend, friend, and an hour later she come with a chauffeur-driven, beautiful, brand new Chrysler town and country car, and went to her house. They gave me a room, and there was New Year's, 46 New Year's, New Year's Eve day, and she said, you have a tuxedo, smoking. I said, a Hungarian gentleman never traveled with a tuxedo. I said, give it to me, a maid will iron it. So we ironed it, we had champagne, we went to the country club. And there we sit down, 10 people. There was a very interesting man looking, he had a big beard. And I start to talk to him with my little English I could do, and then I said to him, I said, what you do? He said, I am a writer. I said, oh my goodness. He said, are you okay? You make enough money? You live okay? She was shocked. And I said, well, in Hungary, the newspapermen, they bump a cigarette from each other. They're always changing address. They don't pay the rent. So he saw that I was sincere. And then I asked my Cuban friend, who the hell is that guy? He said, oh, he's a writer called Hemingway. I didn't ever heard of Hemingway, of course. So, and then in a week time, he called us up, and we started to be friendly. He used my views, fresh and experience, a little I had in the world, and it was a very nice relationship. And it was later on that, in the middle of the night, he would call me. He said, Sepy, what you doing? I said, well, what I'm doing, I'm married, I'm sleeping, 3 o'clock. The next word, he was very masculine. What are you doing? I said, so, I'm sleeping. He said, oh, please pick me up. He was scared to death from Cuban chauffeurs, you know. So I had to drive to one of the bars. He was there, and I drive him home. He had a farm about 12 miles outside Havana. But that's enough, come on.
Okay.